Greetings, African people. Today I decided to tell you a story. A few years ago, a friend of mine who's a nurse called me to ask me if I knew anyone that could come to her community and take care of an elderly couple. Uh, these individuals were from Greece, and both of them had serious medical problems. The man was suffering from COPD. Those of you who are in the medical field will know what that is. If you don't, you can research it. And the lady was suffering from either dementia or Alzheimer's. But the daughter was so tired and worn out from taking care of these elderly people that she needed a break and she was going to Florida. At the time, I had someone staying with me, a woman who was going through some difficult time in her life in terms of um, living. She had no place to live. I offered her shelter, food, included breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And obviously, she was staying in my place, so I was paying rent for her. So I thought, well, maybe this is an opportunity for her to make some money and to, be able to take care of some of her personal needs. When I told her, she said that she was going to pray and fast about it. And after 2 days passed, I had to give this lady an answer. So I asked her, and she said, well, the woman has Alzheimer's, and that is the devil. That's demons that's on this woman. And in terms of the man's COPD situation, it was some kind of devil thing as well. So at the time, I was off from work for a week because I was having problems with my feet. I had plantar fasciitis and heel spur at the same time. So just imagine how painful that is. And my job required me to be on my feet. So I offered to go and take care of this elderly couple. For one, I felt like if the lady that was taking care of them, needed a break, it was good. I didn't speak a word of Greek language, but somehow that experience taught me that, love transcends all things. And it doesn't matter what the language barrier is, we can communicate because that lady, and I think at the time she was in her 70s, her and I had some serious conversations with the very limited knowledge I have of Greek, the Greek language, and her null ability to speak English. I learned some bad words. She taught me about putana because in that time she told me that when her husband was young, he used to have a lot of putanas, and I figured out what that meant. But the point is, while I was there, the first night I stayed there with them, and I stayed with them for a week the first time, the husband went into some serious problems. He ripped out his G tube, and I know nothing about the medical field when it comes to these things. But somehow, when you're put in a position where you have to act, you'd be surprised to see how adrenaline gets you to do the right thing. I was able to reinsert his G feed. I was able to get him back, breathe in. That's another story for another time. When I got back home, I made flyers and I asked that Christian lady to go with me to hand out the flyers to see if she could get some assistance in terms of finding maybe some babysitting to do or just putting kids on or off their school bus. Again, giving her once again an opportunity to get on her feet. And she told me she had to fast and pray. And I went and I handed out the flyers. And when people started calling, she had one excuse after another as to why she couldn't do this work. This is what Christianity does to a lot of our Black people. Turn us into raving lunatics. So she's homeless. She has no money. And I'm there helping her. And while I'm getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to my work, she's busy watching TV and drinking water in wine glass and having cheese and grapes. So, needless to say, I had to eventually give her the story that, she had to go. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. And so when I tell individuals that ultimately working for other people is great, but when you go out there and you do what you need to do in order to survive, that is a lesson that I want everybody to understand and learn. Those of you who hear this message and understand where I'm coming from, you are going to be a part of a garden that is ultimately beautiful, because this is what my channel is. It's a garden, and I will water the plants. I will prune the weeds. And when I'm done, those who stay with me will be like-minded. Be blessed, everybody. Think of these things.